Good afternoon, everyone. It's Dr. Gershon with another Better Health podcast. I am here today with an incredible person who is going to talk to you about a very, very important aspect of healthcare, which is regenerative medicine. He has the unique combination of really being a subject matter expert in medicine and science, but also, a first-class entrepreneur and CEO founder. Um, First, I want to take this opportunity really to thank everyone. The support has been absolutely tremendous for the podcasts and webinar series. We have reached, as many of you know, a milestone, which is 1.18 million views. And we are forming collaborations, partnerships, and developing, I think, incredible support with iconic institutions where we're going to be extending out the podcast to these particular venues to be able to infuse a bit of live energy within the ecosystem that Endeavor has built out and continues to expand upon. And the purpose of this build out is singular. It's really about emphasizing deal making, collaboration, and partnership is an incredibly important part of any emerging company's skill sets and toolkit. And as part of this process, we are bringing the opportunity for investors, industry leaders, and emerging company CEO founders to come together in these venues within conferences, within large organizations like New York Stock Exchange, other great venues for Fortune 500 companies for the singular purpose of improving patient care, improving outcomes, and improving the healthcare system. So with that being said, I want to take this opportunity to introduce you to Dr. Siddhesh Angle. He is going to tell you first about the journey that brought him to the position that he is in right now as the CEO and founder of an incredible new company that's focused on regenerative medicine and addressing diseases of aging like osteoarthritis. So, Sid, welcome. It's a real pleasure to be here. I will say that, Sid is part of an incredible cohort of companies that are associated with NYU. And I really want to give a shout out and a recognition for the incredible achievements over the past, 10 plus years in the entrepreneurship community at NYU. It just gets better and better every single year. And if you look at the statistics, quantitatively, the number of companies that are being spun out of NYU, and frankly, the amount of money that's being raised by those companies has now brought NYU into the top 10 in North America. So, really fantastic for the entrepreneurial efforts. And with that being said, Sid, perhaps you can talk us through a little bit about your own personal background, how you came to work within the NYU environment, your co-founder and some of the incredible science that's being done and the support that you're getting within the entrepreneurial ecosystem at NYU and hopefully by extension now, a new friend in Endeavor.
Great. Thank you. I'm absolutely honored to be here with you, Dr. Gershon, and thank you for giving us this opportunity. My background is primarily in orthopedics. I've spent now over 15 years in both academic as well as industry development side to sort of bring products from the lab scale to the bedside. And it all started from working my way mostly in fracture healing for bone regeneration. But then I started looking into areas which are more associated with soft tissues and cartilage as well as tendon damage. And that's where I started doing some more research. And really what came about was in about 2017, my mom suffered from a meniscal tear, and she also had a underlying condition of early stage osteoarthritis. So that became a very personal note for me, and I realized at that point um, there's really no options available for early stage OA in trying to modify the disease. This is not just my mom. There's about 10% of the world population in the US. That's about 30 to 50 million people who have osteoarthritis of either one of their joints or many other joints. And these patients are in a lot of pain. They go through, there's nothing they can do at this point to do other than just alleviating the pain. So they stay on pain medications. And typically they exhaust about 12 years of their lifespan in just trying to, do something with that pain. They take pain drugs, steroids, or any other alternatives which are available, even opioids in some cases, because it can really affect their quality of life until they're really ready for a knee replacement. And that was a very early sort of flag for me in my mind that there's got to be something out there which should be available to these patients to actually modify the disease instead of just mitigating the pain. And that led me to a to rabbit hole, as I call it, and I landed on some of the work which was done by Bruce Cronstein, who's my co-founder, and that was at NYU, and I realized he had discovered this new molecule which had a big impact on cartilage, which is use of adenosine and adenosine receptors. And that's basically what got. I'm happy to tell you more about it, but that's basically what got. That was the starting point or the foundational finding of Regenosine.
And tell me a little bit about that shift, from your work in medicine, you're dedicated to, the art of medicine, and now, you have to put a new hat on. You're an entrepreneur. What does that look like? What does that feel like? Is there any particular message that you want to send out about that journey and that process, to other entrepreneurs?
Well, yeah, it's definitely been a journey. I think very, very early on when we started working with this molecule, we realized that this was a big market. This was a big unmet need, and a call it our naivety or as a first time entrepreneur, I thought this would be an obvious sort of area where everybody would sort of jump in and be like, hey, this is obviously a solution. Take all the money we have and bring this to the market. But that's never the case. I think once you sort of dip your toes into it, you realize there are a lot of elements of risk, which especially in this area of life science and therapeutic development, and no matter who you speak to, there's a certain level of appetite for risk, and you have to be sort of strategic and cautious and in how you present your work to which set of folks. Generally, the early stage angel investors or friends and family have a higher appetite for risk, and that's sort of easier to sort of get your funding. But as you start talking to VCs and strategics, their appetite for risk is going to be lower. So you better have taken care of all the additional factors. It may be more scientific work. It may be efficacy. It could be manufacturing. It could be clinical trials. So these are the things which I have sort of realized as time has progressed.
Well, that was a perfect segue, even though we didn't talk about it, to the article that Jenny Fernandez, who's the director of leadership at Endeavor, and I wrote for Fast Company, which is think like an investor when raising money as a startup founder CEO. The key thing there that you mentioned that I want to underscore is risk. And the risk is not the risk that you as an entrepreneur are taking.
Correct.
Yes, you are taking a lot of risk by leaving your job, by going all in. But that's not the risk that we're talking about. We're talking about the risk from an investor perspective. And I would, by extension, say industry perspective. So
Right.
one of the things that you mentioned, which is the ability to mitigate risk, and I want to focus in on that for just a second because it's quite important. As part of what we're doing at Endeavor, we are purposefully bringing deal making to the table. It's kind of an old art form. You
Yeah.
know, it's when money was incredibly cheap, if not free, which was essentially the last 20 years, you didn't really need to make deals. You went, you got a check, you did your own thing, you captured market, and everyone was happy. You know, we believe at Endeavor that now the next 20 years or so is going to be about deal making. And that means personal relationships, partnering, collaborating. In that process, it's really important that the CEO, entrepreneur, founders develop some skill sets to understand, you know, what does it take to address, as you said, angel groups are different than VCs and different than family funds, and certainly different than strategics. So I would love to be able to talk with you a little bit about this aspect of the journey.
Yeah.
Um, you know, maybe focus in on the things that have worked. I'm
Yeah.
always positive. And Reid Hoffman says, when you find something that's your strength, double down on that and push the things that are not your strength away. So love to
Right.
hear about some of the successes that you had in terms of, you know, meeting with these different groups and potentially, you know, leading to deals or partnerships, whether it's, you know, now or something that you see in the future.
Yeah, and I think, in my journey, I think, very from very early on, and even now, I do not consider myself. I know things which I know, and I definitely know things which I don't know, and I make a very conscious effort of listening to people and my advisors, and taking feedback from them, and utilizing them towards the success of the company. So early on, we were very fortunate to have some good clinical advisors on our team, who have really helped us guide our program, um, with the sort of single mission of bringing this technology to the patient side. And the NYU community, as well as the New York community, has been entrepreneurial community, and the startup community has been very useful on that. In that, say, we were part of a, this is my plug, but basically we were part of a cohort at NYU, EFL, which is now called the Endless Frontier Labs. And the kind of exposure and the advice we got from that accelerator program was second to none. We met a lot of strategics, people who had done something like this in the past. And it helped us really, one, sort of navigate our strategy into a better strategy, and in some cases, it helped us validate, our strategy, where we were thinking of, either from a scientific perspective or even from a fundraising perspective, what would be the right way to go about it. And that really helped us early on. And I think, you can call it a customer feedback, or you can call it, talking to all your stakeholders. But getting that information and building a strategy around that is of utmost importance in my.
Yeah, that's such incredibly valuable information for, you know, young CEO, founder, entrepreneurs. There's a tremendous number of pressures and headwinds that are on early stage companies. And in that process, sometimes, you know, you get buffeted around, you know, you get doors slammed in your face, or, you know, you walk down roads that lead to nowhere.
Right.
You know, in this process, it's critical to understand that you don't necessarily have to have a check
Yeah.
for your company to survive. What you need is people who believe in you.
Right.
And that support ecosystem, that network, to some degree, it's a little bit of magic. I mean, maybe that's not the right word, but, you know, things happen in a positive way.
Yeah.
You're doing something authentic with good people who believe in you.
Yes. I mean, there's definitely some, it's there's some obviousness to the fact that being at the right place at the right time, that happens a lot. But I do agree with you that it is not, it doesn't always have to end with a door which is shut on your face. That you have to sort of learn from that, and then open the right door the next time. Don't go after the same kind of a door. And I think that kind of helps. It definitely helped us. The early stage networking. When we were raising money our first time, we definitely didn't get money thrown at us, but we got connections and people helped us. They understood our mission, they understood the stage we were at, and they helped us get connected with people who they think would be ready for something like this. And the other part was persistence. I was very persistent with some of our VCs, and it was not that, sometimes squeaky wheel gets the oil, but it's also, I think we showed that we put our money where our mouth was, and basically we showed them some development in the areas where we had promised. And again, looking at it over a period of time, and getting validation that, okay, this team has what it takes and they have done what they said they would do, sort of gives some validation to potential investors, and helped us bring in our first money into the company.
That's just a bullseye. Like, there's so much to unpack there. So in the past 6 weeks or so, I've been in about 9 conferences, maybe more, mostly as a moderator and a keynote, but sometimes as a panelist. The unifying theme across all of these conferences, whether it's a biotech or health tech or med tech, or it's always the same. Industry says they want to work with early stage companies. And
Yes.
For me, that's quite important, because I think there's a paradigm shift going on, as evidenced by the things that are happening in companies like Sanofi, that has moved from being a pharmaceutical company to a digital health company. Google, which is now, a leader in healthcare investment, over 250 investments in healthcare alone. 55% of their VC team is healthcare. Obviously, Amazon, Microsoft, tens of billions of dollars from each one of these companies, for a total of 100 billion all in by big tech, says to me one important thing. There is a lot of money out there
Right.
for healthcare. Now, what is the problem that every one of these industry leaders says to me as a panelist? CEO, entrepreneur, founders need 2 important things when they come to the table. First is the thing that you just mentioned. You have to deliver the things that you promised you're going to deliver.
Right.
And as part of that, you don't have to have the answer to everything. You're not expected to be a mature company.
Yes.
You have to have a little bit of data and a roadmap that says, because of this data, we think we can do this. And under promising and over delivering goes to one important issue, which we mentioned in the article that I put up before, which is trust.
Right.
You and Bruce, your backgrounds, your integrity, your, I think, forthcoming, and really authentic desire to define, what the company is, where it can go, and what the potential impact is for patients, and by extension, the return on investment, what that looks like. The way that you present that is in and of itself, part of the moat that you create, the competitive moat.
Right.
You attract quality people because of the way that you put the story together. And so what I would love for CEO entrepreneur founders to understand is that there is a powerful tool set. You don't necessarily have to walk away with a $500,000, $1 million, $5 million check. You have to walk away with that counterparty saying fantastic things about you and your company. And so one of the things I would love to be able to talk with you about now, which is what I try to instill in the companies that I work with. And as you probably know, I'm now working closely with Techstars as their new senior executive investor in residence there, along with other Endeavor personnel, to be able to bring some of this messaging to them. So really the question is, first, how do you define success? And I say that, because it's not just success, oh, I'm going to bring the company public, but it's success, in a roadmap, which is there's different things that you need for success. So I'd love to hear your perspective, on the big picture, and then success as you see it from networking and individual meetings, which is kind of the tactical success.
Yeah, and that's a great point. And I think the way I look at it is, success can be spelled in different ways. And what I mean by that is it can be either in lower cases or in upper cases, and there's a whole spectrum of that in between. And that kind of relates to what you said is a roadmap. For us, success has been different things. We identify for adenosine. We identified adenosine as a molecule in Bruce's lab, where he found out that age and inflammation has these causes the levels of adenosine to sort of reduce in the joint, and has an impact on osteoarthritis. Now, this was an early finding, and Bruce had done some studies early on to sort of identify a way to use adenosine as a molecule to recapitulate that regenerative effect. But we did not have a stable system of delivering adenosine, because adenosine is actually a very fast-acting molecule. So I think our first success was in finding a formulation or a method. In our case, we used a liposomal system, which was stable enough to extend the biological activity of adenosine in these joints. So that's what has been driving all our work right now, is to create that liposomal drug for the clinic. From that point forward, we wanted to understand, okay, if this sort of works in lower mammals, will this work in humans? So our next stage of development was looking at efficacy in canines, because it is not just a bridge study for us, but it also is a pretty tremendous area of unmet need for the veterinary market. A lot of dogs have a bilateral OA in their hips and their knee, as well as their elbow. So we just completed a big study where we've now shown that our treatment is very efficacious for pain, function, changes in radiographic observations of the joint in dogs, and that sort of extends our level of success. But to kind of come back to what we were talking before, that also mitigates some of the risks associated with this. This is not a molecule anymore, which was sort of identified at NYU. We now have translatable data to show that there is a very high likelihood of success for this in humans. So my thought process here to tell you is that eventually you'll get to the point that it'll be success written in all caps and in shimmering light. But I think to get to that stage, there you have to be accepting of smaller successes and use that to your advantage to get the value inflection you need to keep moving the buck.
Yeah, that's just such incredibly valuable information. Thank you for sharing, the personal journey and those words of wisdom. I want to take a little bit of a deeper dive for just a few minutes on the science aspect of it, because
Sure.
you touched on it. But
Yeah.
let's talk about the secret sauce, what differentiates you, the work that Bruce is doing, currently. Let's focus in on that for a few minutes, because I think that this is a massive problem,
Yes.
and it has not been met with a successful therapeutic approach.
Correct.
And so the opportunity to really impact patients is so significant. But I
Right.
want to circle back to the original thing that you said in the conversation, which was, as a physician, as, a scientist, as a leader in healthcare, you thought, oh my God, like this is so obvious. Like we have this amazing, innovation. Of course, pharma's going to come running to us. Um, I want to talk about the secret sauce here and, you know, the incredible things that are written in the success steps, but also
Right.
some of the surprises and the hurdles in that process.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, so the genesis of this was all, so Bruce Kronstein at NYU, who's the co-founder of Regenosine. He's been working on adenosine and its receptors for over 3 decades now, and he's a exceptional scientist, very prestigious in the field of uh, adenosine and purine. He's a distinguished basic scientist for and acknowledged by the rheumatology society. So he's done a lot of work in this field, but mainly he identified that age and inflammation reduce the capacity for human chondrocytes to synthesize and maintain adenosine, and that leads to spontaneous osteoarthritis. And he also identified there's a certain subpopulation in humans who have a certain enzyme missing, which can lead to osteoarthritis in their joints. So our early thought process was, well, if that's the case, and if there's less levels of adenosine in the joint, what if we exogenously deliver this adenosine? Would that have an effect on regenerating the cartilage? Would that provide sort of a boost to the chondrocytes to regenerate the cartilage? But the main challenge there was that adenosine has a very fast-acting half-life. So, like I said, we developed a few different strategies to overcome that. And that was really one of our first proprietary findings. We found out that we can use liposomes as a way to sequester this adenosine over a period of time. And that basically helps to keep the adenosine active for an extended period of time. In our case, we've actually shown that now this adenosine can be circulating for up to 15 days in the joint. And that really is what sets us apart. If you look at our science, if you look at our IP, our proprietary liposomal adenosine formulation is what has helped us to deliver that adenosine into the joint. And then we've tested that to show that it has an impact on regenerating the cartilage, reducing inflammation, reducing pain, showing MRI-based changes, showing X-ray-based changes, as well as some biomarkers.
Fantastic. Where do you see, in your crystal ball, let's say 5 years down the road, and that's not too soon, but not too far. It takes a lot. It takes a significant amount of time, even after a
Yeah,
product is commercialized, to be picked up by prescribing physicians. So I think
yeah,
5 years is probably a reasonable time frame to look at. Love to hear your opinion about what you see within that, 5 year time horizon, because ultimately, a lot of people who are listening in today, unfortunately, they may have friends, family, or even themselves
right.
have different disorders, of aging. This is one of the key ones.
Yeah, so two things there. I mean, we're laser focused now. So we've done a lot of work, preclinical work. We're laser focused on sort of scaling up our drug and doing some IND enabling studies so that we can start our phase 1 clinical trials next year. We're trying to partner with the DoD. This osteoarthritis is actually a big problem even in the military. They're disproportionately affected by it, and leads to one of the most second most common reasons for discharge. So we're trying to get into the clinic as soon as we can, and we're doing what we can, staying laser focused on that track. I think 5 years down from now, we will still be sort of very close to getting it on the market, but I hope we'll at least be in our, at the end of our phase 2 and phase 3 studies. So impacting potentially a big subset of these of the patients and getting close with a commercial product. But we definitely think on the second aspect of this is we definitely think we'll have a drug available for, if everything goes well, obviously, for canines. And like I said, this is a big opportunity and an unmet need even for dogs. Hip dysplasia causes a lot of OA. Elbow disease causes a lot of OA. There's nothing like this available for canines as well. So we think at least that would be a small cherry on the cake for us if that would be work out.
No, that's fantastic. I mean, a lot of, I think, what we're focused in on, is the optimism that comes from incredible science, technology, medicine, and financing coming together in a way that I've never really seen in the past, 20 some odd years that I've been doing this. So I think, without overstating anything, areas like longevity, areas of regenerative medicine, areas of, aging medicine, there's every reason to believe, to be incredibly optimistic. It's really just a question of time, and it's a question, right, which diseases are, top in the priority, to be addressed. But certainly, many decades from now, I think a lot of medicine is going to be focused in on the diseases of aging and the ability for us to slow, stop, and then reverse that process. So what you're doing is just, to me, critically important. Part of the reason that I'm so excited to have you on is really to get the message out, to the viewers, to the community at large in the ecosystem of Endeavor and beyond. The notion that you are doing these things also leads us really to go to the community and say, if anyone has ideas, suggestions about collaboration, about partners that may have an interest in what you hear, Sid and I talking about today. I know that Sid is certainly open, to hearing those suggestions, and feel free to contact me, as well.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. And yeah, you hit the bullseye. Our mission is stop the progression, treat the pain, regenerate the cartilage. That's exactly what you said. And that's our mission at Regenosine.
So first, I really want to thank everyone for signing in today. We can't do this without an incredibly loyal community to support BetterHealth and Endeavor. The extension out now into other, terrific venues like in Techstars is just another step in that process that validates the importance of collaborating and bringing like-minded people together to drive emerging companies forward. And then really, can't thank you enough, Sid, for coming on today. It's incredibly stressful being a CEO entrepreneur, and taking the time to share these experiences is greatly appreciated. Love to have you back.
Yeah, thank you. I'm honored to be here, and thank you so much. This has been great. Anything I can do to support fellow entrepreneurs, please reach out. This has been a great experience. Thank you.
And thank you, everyone. Sid, stay on the line for a minute. I'm just going to sign off right now. Okay. I want to wish everyone a fantastic rest of the day. In the next several weeks, we have some really incredible people coming on to talk to you about some incredible discoveries, as well as some of perspectives from investors. So you'll be hearing from Rock Health in a few weeks, as well as industry leaders. And you'll be hearing from organizations like Sanofi and consulting firms like Deloitte and Accenture. So there is a real concerted effort to bring thought leaders together with entrepreneurs to be able to do deals, make things happen. And please reach out to me at endeavor@gershoncapital.com for any comments, thoughts, or questions. If you have suggestions about highlighting some amazing companies, please feel free to reach me as well at that email. Take care, everyone. I'll see you soon. Sid, hang on for just a moment.
Sure.